What's going on, everyone? Welcome back, Crazy for KV's RC. I'm Tim. Welcome back to my channel. So this is going to be a little bit of a different video, but it's something I definitely want to share with y'all. And I kind of hope word spreads on this. It's something I have been working on in my free time, and something I think could help a lot of people that are new to the hobby, custom builders, people who have been around for a while, just kind of take the guesswork out of things. So I made a gearing calculator, if you want to think about it like that. It's kind of a gearing wizard, a setup for RC crawlers in particular. Not going to most likely incorporate any bashers or anything like that, or any go fast stuff, because there's way too much of that. Listen to a lot of live streams either at night to wind down, and I've been hearing a lot of the same questions over and over and over about gearing. You know, I want this speed. What pinion gear should I go with? How much of a difference does portals make? Should I go with the 1800 or the 2300? Should I go, this, that, 3S, 4S? And this is something I've kind of wanted to do for a while, and really just got comfortable enough with programming to do it. So it's a really basic program. It's nothing sexy. I'm definitely not a professional programmer, but it is functional. And I think some people will get pretty good use out of it. So we're going to jump into the program. I'm going to kind of walk you through it. I'm also going to walk you through how to download it. The link's going to be down in the description below. I'm also going to put it in my profile, just right on my homepage of my YouTube channel. If it'll let me, I'll put it in my Instagram. If they'll let me. There's weird rules about links sometimes. So going to try to put as many places as possible. I don't like spamming Facebook groups or anything like that. So we're not going to do that. But feel free to share it with your friends if you find it useful. Give me feedback. You can comment on this video if you want, but I do prefer you to email me, crazyforkvsrc@gmail.com, and I'll be checking that about once a week and taking feedback if you guys have any issues, things like that. So let's jump into it. I'll show it to you, and hopefully you guys find it to be useful.
All right. So when you click on the link down below, or however you get to the link, this is what it's going to bring you to. It's a Google share drive. In its early stages, it's kind of the best way for me to host everything, control changes, control access. If we start having issues, I'll probably lock it back down to private, make my changes, and then probably just do a community post or / an Instagram post whenever it's ready to go again. But seemed to be the easiest way. But when you first get here, I do want everyone to go to the README. I may eventually move this over to GitHub, but for now, we're just going to run with this. Something I'm just trying to do here in my free time. But the README is pretty important because it talks about verifying file integrity and how to get it running on your system, at least to the best of my ability. I've tried it on a couple different systems. It seems to be working pretty easily, but if you have any issues, just leave a comment or send me an email. So this first section talks about, verifying the file integrity, and I give you instructions on how to do a file hash, and just to verify that the file that I uploaded is the one that you downloaded. Nothing weird happened. There was no malware injected into it. Nothing like that. So I can verify that if the hashes match, you're good. So you're going to see there's two different files when you go to the share drive. Right here, there's a Python file and a regular Windows application executable. So there's two different hashes. There's one for the Python and one for the executable. So whatever one you download, before you run it, run this inside your command prompt, or PowerShell should work as well, but it's just a start utilities, and you can run whenever the file name is. It may eventually have a version number in it, so that's why I didn't put it in there. And you got to specify that you want a SHA-256 hash. If you don't put that, they will not match because it will not default to SHA-256. And yeah, just do a comparison. You should be able to compare, a few at the beginning, a few at the end, and it should be the same. If one piece of code changes, the whole hash is going to change. So it's not like if it's close. If the hash is somewhat close, that doesn't necessarily mean the code is close. But Can verify. There's nothing weird going on, I promise. Additionally, there's a little bit of introduction is kind of why I wanted to do this. And then it just talks about how to get it running. There's two different ways. So either if you want to download the Python way, which is going to be the method for Mac users for sure. If you don't already have Python on your computer, you can go to download Python and just go to this homepage here. And right here is for Windows. You can download it for Mac. If you're a Linux user, it's there as well. But so make sure you have Python before you try to run the program. The only issue I've had with the Python side is sometimes the browser will try to block it or verify it. So the file has no certs attached to it, which is going to flag in a lot of systems. I got to pay to get those certificates put on there. We may eventually get to that point, but for now, we're going to keep it free and we're going to use as many workarounds as we can while also trying to make it as easy as possible. So download Python, download the file. It'll probably ask you, are you sure you want to download this? If you want it, yes, you got to say yes. And then run your file hash as long as it matches. Double click on it and the program will run, and we'll look at that just in a second. On the executable side, it's a little bit more of a workaround, but you don't have to download Python. It's built for Windows, and I did have an issue with some McAfee bloatware on a new laptop that was actually, when I tried to run the program, was uninstalling it or deleting it. And it flagged it as potentially unwanted program or malware. That's the program. That's kind of how you get to it. The future plans, you guys can check that out. Just some ideas I have. Potentially, maybe eventually developing an app for it, or paying for a domain and just hosting it on the web just to make it as easy as possible so people can just bookmark that and run it. There's really none of this legwork to get it going, but like I said, we're trying to keep it free for now. So when you download it, this is what it's going to look like right here. Very simple. It's not pretty or anything like that. It's a very rudimentary program, but it does have quite a bit of functionality built into it. The title of it may change, and a few things I noticed. I actually shot this video and the audio did not work. So we were able to work through some of the issues in the program that I noticed while recording, but I have tested it a good bit. Most of the combinations I can think of seem to work, but let me know, send me an email if you find any bugs in it, and I'll work to get them fixed. But I broke out the front axle manufacturer from the rear. There's a lot of mullets are kind of up and coming right now. Straight axle front, portal axle rear, and maybe you want to run an AR45 straight axle up front and a F10 portal in the rear. So we can actually look at that. Now, one thing I think I am going to change, you'll see in the front axle ratio, I don't actually call out all the different axles that use that ratio, which I think I'm going to, because I want this to be as user-friendly and as geared toward novices as much as it is geared toward the advanced custom builder. But an AR45 does use a standard AR44 gear set. So if your axle's running a stock ring and pinion, that's a 32th ring gear, 8-tooth pinion. That's what that means. And then your rear axle for Vanquish. And you can put those custom overdrive in here as well. So, and we'll look at some of the different options, but we'll say stock on an F10 rear portal. Lots of different transmission manufacturers. Let's go with Vanquish because they have quite a bit of options built in. So once you pick your manufacturers, these will fill out, and there's VFD, the standard 6%. It's actually 6.5. Your VRD stock or the VFD with the 21% overdrive kit, and then there's VFD twin, low overdrive, high overdrive, and 3 gear. I think that covers most of our bases, but let's use the 6% for now. And we'll go with kind of standard. You guys have seen videos on the H10 recently. We'll go with standard H10 gearing right out of the box. So we said we're doing a mullet build, and you got no front portal. And then for the rear, we're going to say stock F10. 1830 I think is the gearing on that portal gearing. And we'll say we're going to run a Fusion Pro, right? 2300. We're going to run it on 3S. I got 2S, 3S, 4S, and 6S built in. And I may put those next to the voltage here. But we're going to run it on 3S. The tire diameter is 100% optional, but it does allow you to calculate theoretical max speed based on rollout. You don't have to do any of the math, converting RPM to feet per minute and then miles per hour. So we'll do 4.75 standard class 2 tire and hit calculate, and it gives you quite a bit of information, right? So you get your front wheel RPM, your rear wheel RPM, your reduction up front, your reduction in the rear. We see that we got 56% of overdrive, which is quite a bit. So let's use the tool to kind of dial that in a little bit better. So we would want to overdrive the rear. So on the rear axle, we need to add a little bit of overdrive. So this is one of those things I don't have everything built out. It's kind of hard to think of it all, but I will get this added before you guys see this video or very soon thereafter. But I don't have an overdrive option because I picked Vanquish. So we could just go up and pick axial and select the ring gear from there. Or if you want to use the tool the way it's intended, or maybe you have some sort of custom gear set that I'm unaware of, you can go to custom, and one of the overdrive options that should fit is a 24/8, which is and when you see a custom ratio, it's looking for the decimal. So you can just do 3 or you can do 3.00, doesn't matter. Then we're going to calculate. And you can see down here that gets us back into that 35%, which is a really good value. Another way we could have achieved that, could go back to stock. We're back at 56. Is we underdrive the front. That gets us to 47, which is about where the Phoenix portal is in high overdrive. So a couple of different options. You may also notice the rear portal ratio. This is an issue that I need to fix. It's stock SEX 10.2. It should say 10.3, but I'll probably just change it to say AR45P for their portal. So let's walk through a scenario where I think this could really be advantageous, especially to the newer user, someone a little bit newer to RC, or maybe you're just tired of going to figure out what ratios are what, or breaking out your calculator on your phone and doing the math yourself. You can rely on this, and it will also give you a little bit more data as well. So we started with a fresh instance. I may add a reset button to clear everything out. That is something I look to add here in the near future, just to make it a little bit easier. So you can kind of start fresh. If you're looking at a custom build, that could be pretty useful, kind of playing with different options. But let's just do all Vanquish parts here. We're gonna use the H10 as kind of an example. And let's see, Vanquish. And I may go ahead and add the nomenclature for the vehicles that have the transmission, but it can get a little bit lengthy because it's the Ford ISD H10. I think the Stance RTR has it as well. I'm unsure. That's one of the few Vanquish trucks I don't have. But going back to stock H10 stuff, this is just an example. And the scenario here is H10 is a straight axle, so we got no portals, 35 turn, 3 slot motor, roughly 1800 kV, we'll call it. And say, for example, you drive it bone stock on a 3S pack. It's got 4.75 inch tires. You would want to measure them to get a realistic and an accurate measurement, but we'll go with that for now. And you see, say, for example, this is a trailing rig for you. You like the speed of it. You're not as concerned, or maybe you're unfamiliar with what good reduction is. You see the speed is, the front wheel speed is a little bit faster than the rear because of the overdrive. So you see, basically it has an average theoretical max speed of 7.5%. and you're like, I like that, it's got good speed, I can kind of bump over logs or rocks or whatever it is, but also crawls pretty decent. And if it could crawl a little better, that'd be great, but I want that speed, or to be very, very close to it. But I would also like a little bit better smoothness down low, and I want to change out the power system. So as you upgrade over time, or maybe you're looking and shopping around and you look at a Fusion Pro 2300 kV. Now you can always modulate the throttle to control your max speed. That's obviously an option, but if you just did that, left everything the same, it would be a little bit faster, right? And you're like, I don't need it to go that fast. It was like perfect where it was at. So you see that it's about 2 miles per hour faster. Well, one of the things this is really useful for is coming in here and messing with your pinion gear size. And you're like, okay, Tim says I can get a 10 tooth on there, which can. That's a little too slow. Okay, so let's go up a tooth. And it's still a little slower than it was. And then we land, basically it'd be 0.2 faster, roughly. And you also have gear reduction. Instead of 41 in the front, 44 in the rear, you're at 51 in the front, 55 in the rear. So you're going to get even better smoothness on top of that Fusion Pro compared to the stock brushed system. But your top speed is going to be basically exactly the same. So that's just an instance that I think this could be very useful. The custom builders, I think, will see the benefit in this, hopefully. I think it's pretty useful, and actually used it in my H10 update video that'll be coming next week, where we're trying to make it a crawler and kind of use this to dial it in and figure out exactly what I want my speeds to be, more so the gear reduction than the gear ratios. So there's 3 last things I want to go over, and I'll kind of work them all into one scenario. So let's just go back and we'll say for example, you're a fan of the Artful Dodgers, a little bit less known, but fairly gaining some popularity. And I've actually used some of their chassis, and they work well, but they actually have their own transmission now. It's a collaboration, but they are an example of a transmission where the spur gear is really more of an input gear to the transmission. It's internal inside the transmission case, and there's really no easy way to change that spur gear size. So instead of you having to, and they don't really advertise on some of these types of transmissions how many teeth are on that. So it would make this very unuseful if you had to count the teeth or go look it up every time. So if that's something you're looking at, or maybe you already have it, I reached out and tried to gather as much information as I could. And if you were to pick Nordic/Artful Dodgers transmission, the ULV is the name of that transmission. You pick one of these types of transmissions, it's going to lock that quote unquote spur gear, the gear that the pinion on the motor interfaces with. So it's a 40 tooth. Maybe you say, I want to run a 10 tooth, and we're going to run, stock portals. F10 portals is what it's intended for, that chassis that comes with that transmission. 1800, none of this really matters, but I want to show you the tire diameter is 100% optional. You just won't get that theoretical top speed, obviously. Can't figure out your final rollout without that. So there you see, you get all your values besides those top speeds, and you still get your RPM, gear reduction, and everything. There's an example of a no overdrive transmission, 0%, same speed, front and rear. So no matter what your manufacturer is for your transmission, just like the axles, there's going to be a custom option for every single one. And what that looks like, you see when I click custom, it unlocks that spur gear size. So say, for example, some oddball thing, I don't know anything about it. The front ratio and the rear ratio are user input. And it's looking for a decimal point here as well. So say, for example, the front is a 2 and the rear is a 292, something, whatever it may be. You see right there. So you would need to know that if you had a custom gearbox, and you can use that if I miss something and you still want to try it out, or hopefully still see some usage in this. But if you find yourself using that, or I just completely miss something, definitely email me all the details, who makes it and what the name of it is. I prefer tooth counts, if you can, basically in order from, if it's got an integrated spur, the spur gear, and then all the gears following until it is the output gears. But if you know the final ratios, I'll take those as well. I'll use those values, but I just don't want to be the person to blame if I get some bad math given from somebody. So that's pretty much going to do it. Like I said, more stuff to come. I know that I'm missing EXO. I reached out to them and haven't got a response, asking for some of their ratios. And I'm also definitely missing the Corrupt Carbon Works transfer case. The nice thing, the way I have this built, the spur and pinion being separate, you can obviously plug those in with your Ford motor mounts, and then, you know, I can just have your transfer case ratio built into the application, and you guys can go from there. And I have a CCW transfer case. I just haven't taken it apart to count the gears. But I need to reach out to Austin and just see if he'll give me that information. So hopefully you guys find this useful. Like I said, the link is down below. You may see the date change in that link. That just means it's been updated. And if you have any issues, your hash doesn't match, I may have forgot to update the hash in the README. If you have any issues getting it installed, please definitely use the README. Try to troubleshoot it on your own, but feel free to reach out and I'll try to help you out. Mac users, I don't believe there's a way for me to convert my Python program to Mac without doing it on a Mac. So trying to figure that out. But your best bet is going to be just to use the Python side. Should work just fine for you. But let me know if it doesn't, and I'll see what I can do. Like I said, 100% free. Hope you guys get some use out of it. I can actually kind of track metrics and see who's been using it on Google Drive, which is nice. And if it gets enough traction, people start using it enough, then I'll put some more time into it, try to pretty it up, maybe spend a little bit of money on it, and get some certs put on it so it doesn't get flagged by antivirus and things like that. Just depending on how much that is, how expensive that process is. Maybe look at putting it on the App Store. Android, probably. iOS, the App Store's a lot pickier with what goes on their App Store. If you're familiar with Python, you can look right in the Python file and see nothing weird going on there. It's not even probably eloquently written, but it is pretty functional. But look for me to add the reset button and make some of those changes just to kind of take some confusion out and try to make it as user-friendly as possible, no matter what your experience level is. I appreciate all you sticking with me. I know this wasn't the most exciting video, but I hope it kind of gives you an explanation as to how to download it, how to use it, and some scenarios that it could be used for. But I'll catch you guys next time. H10 update video coming next week. I'll see you guys then.